I can't be peeling my casket, make sure I die with a 10. It's part of the brand. I know that I came with a style.
Let's get into it. Welcome back, Grind Podcast. We're here, episode 2, with a guy that I'm very happy that you're here. I didn't think you'd actually want to be on this.
What?
Because someone so decorated, so many accolades from birth to life with what you're doing with business, what you did with sports, an incredible family you have. Clay Murray, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And honestly, it was a no doubt yes for me. It's a yes from me, dog.
All right, I think we can wrap it up. I think that's all the information I need from my ego for the day. But really, I wanted to take this time before we get into this. Thank you. Some of these viewers know, if you follow my real estate career, is you are instrumental in it as my preferred lender. So I thought this was a good platform to kind of just get into what makes you you.
Cool.
So childhood, tell me about it.
We're starting from the very beginning. Okay.
Did you already know when you were born, let's say 8 years old, were you like, I'm going to be an astronaut, am I going to be an athlete? Or were you like, I need to do something to help people?
Definitely not the latter, right? I mean, I was the typical kid. Actually, and I'm sure I shared this with you, baseball was it for me.
Oh, absolutely.
I wanted to play professional baseball. But, as the years went on, that became a little more of a pipe dream, a little more obvious that it wasn't going to happen. So now it's Sunday men's league, wood bat, get my fix in, and, help people as the day job, baseball on the side.
So baseball, was it like going into high school, I'm going to get drafted, I'm going to play college? What was the mindset there?
By the time high school had come around, I was already starting to shift that mentality, which is unfortunate. But no, I think I probably started later, started playing at 7. I think a lot of kids start at 5 or whatever.
I think I was 2.
2, okay, right? Yeah, but there were 2 of you, so Dad had to start you earlier. No, but by the time high school came around, it was kind of becoming a little more clear that this was going to be like really hard. And growing up in Southern California, we have a lot of baseball.
It's the baseball mecca.
Play year round. There's a ton of talent here. And I actually got cut from my freshman team.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I went to the public league, just the city community league, and did very well there.
Mm-hmm, of course.
But I wasn't where I wanted to be playing. So then I went back and played sophomore, junior, senior years at Poway High. Nothing really exciting happened in my high school baseball career, except for one thing, but it happened twice.
What happened?
So I have 4 high school home runs to my credit.
Nice.
That's it in 3 years. 2 junior year, 2 senior year. Both times happened in the same game.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's pretty rare.
One day you're just seeing the ball, and the rest of the season, garbage. I don't know why, but to have it happen twice was kind of unique.
Yeah, I mean, most pros do that a couple times in their career, and they're playing thousands of games.
Yeah, maybe a couple times a season.
Maybe.
Multi-home run games.
I mean, those are like the Manny Machados.
Yeah, I was going to say, those are the guys that are used to hitting home runs. Oh. A guy like me, a real slap, it doesn't happen all that often.
Did you like that I named one Padre? I was about to name a second and immediately cut it.
What? Oh, yeah. I got you.
So, Poway High, played baseball. What happened after Poway High?
After Poway High, I went the junior college route. I started realizing that, obviously baseball wasn't going to happen. What's the next best thing?
Yes.
So I really wanted to do sports broadcast. Emphasis in baseball if I could.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you can't go to school and say, I want to be a baseball but you can go for broadcast journalism. So I started doing that at Palomar College, which, if you're not aware, they have an amazing radio and television program. Mm-hmm. Did that for 2 years. Covered some of the teams at Palomar, which is good sports. I mean, football and baseball are both really good there. Then from there, transferred up to Long Beach State. Also has a really good program for radio and television. So,
especially if you're a dirtbag.
Yes, exactly. Not to mention a really good baseball team.
Exactly.
But no football team.
Yeah, which is very surprising out of the LBC.
They had one, and decades ago canceled the program for whatever reason. I never understood that because there's also so much football talent here.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, that has as a Long Beach State alumnus, I will say is one of my bigger regrets that I went to a school that has no football team. So now it's like, I have all these friends that are, they went to SC or they went to Cal or they went to UCLA or wherever, and every Saturday they're watching their team. not me.
And you're like, I'm waiting for baseball season, and then I'll celebrate us winning everything. 'Cause
Yeah,
very good. There's been some rough seasons.
It's been a while,
but
but
when
yeah.
I was playing, they were very good.
Yeah, they definitely have guys that come out of there every year. Troy Tulowitzki, Jason Giambi, Danny Espinoza. That's it. That's all I know.
Well,
We'll stop there.
Tulowitzki was actually my childhood favorite player.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've got a glove that I never broke in because he signed it. Had a couple hitting lessons with him because my dad was like ultimate journalist. Found out
so
where
you
he
met him.
was. Oh yeah,
Nice.
He's a nice guy.
Got it. Hopefully he's not watching.
No, hopefully he's not watching, but I don't think he is. So, sports your entire life, and now we're going to get into the juicy part where we get into the lending side on residential purchases.
Right.
Sports broadcasting to doing loans is a complete 180. So, what happened in your life?
Is it though,
I
or
think
is this
so.
the path that every loan officer takes? Yeah. So after college, got a job at the Mighty 1090.
Yep.
The biggest AM sports radio station in our market, let alone San Diego. Had fun for 5 years. First job out of college. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then was getting very serious with girlfriend, now wife, and realizing that, all right, it's about time. Like, marriage is coming, family's coming, life is coming.
Yeah.
And this radio thing's just not going to work out.
It's fun, but it's not in the long term.
I always said I didn't get paid a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but I did a lot that I didn't have to pay for. And I was like,
That's cool.
it's
a good
cool,
trade-off.
but that only goes so far when life happens. Like, you got bills,
You got stuff to
and
take
you
care
can't
of.
throw a restaurant gift card at those bills and call it good. So, a girl that I worked with, her husband was in mortgages.
Okay.
And he and I became really good friends just with my relationship with her, same age, same lifestyles,
Exactly.
I guess, points in life. And my dad actually did mortgages forever. When I grew up, Dad was doing mortgages. And one thing I always knew about Dad was, A, he was home all the time. He ended up
huge.
working out of his house. B, he never missed a practice or a game. Like, no sporting events could I look into the stands and Dad wasn't there.
And I know that's something you're going to replicate for your daughters.
Yes, that's it. It became very important to me as I kind of knew where life was going.
Mm-hmm.
And, and he made a good enough living for us to be really happy. So that was 3 things that were going to be super important for me in the very, very near future. So all the while, my buddy's like, what are you doing? Like, come do mortgages. And I already had a plan. I was already ready to transition out of radio, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to be a baseball coach. I couldn't let go, So I was going to be a baseball coach at the high school level and teach math. I like math.
Yeah, I mean,
Call me a nerd.
right up your alley, but it's
Yeah.
another one of those things when you're looking radio to that transition is like, how much of a step up is this? Because
Yeah.
time, teaching and coaching, I mean, that's a 7 to 7 every day.
It's a ton of time. And again, it wasn't going to be a ton of income opportunity.
Yes.
Right. It was going to be the passion, which I loved. When I was at the radio station, I became the director of my department. So I had a staff of, 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I became the director of the internship program. You ever had a summer internship at a radio
yeah.
station?
Not at a radio station.
It's a blast. So I was overseeing, in any given week, I was overseeing 15 to 20 people getting paid pennies. But one of my favorite things to do with the interns was teach them. I like to teach. So anyway, all right, I'll be a teacher, right? And I'll coach baseball and get the whole thing. And I went so far as to start certification. I had passed a test. I was transitioning.
Yep.
And I talked to my dad. I was like, Dad, what do you think? And Dad did mortgages during a tough time to do mortgages.
Okay.
Right? There was an economic crash in the 90s as well, and he kind of went through that, and it was tough. And he never really broke through. He was a one-man shop. It was William Murray Company. It was just right out of the office.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
mom was his part-time processor.
Bless her heart for that.
Oh, I know. It was a lot. And he kind of advised me against it.
Really?
Yeah. He said it's not easy, right? It can be really lucrative, it can be really rewarding, but it can be very hard and it can be a struggle. And he and I went on a hunting trip, and it was a long drive to get to where we were going, and we just talked about it for hours. And I finally made the decision that, you know what, I'm going to do it. I've got all my teaching stuff ready.
Just in case.
Yeah, I'm going to holster that for now, and I'm going to give this a shot, because my buddy was telling me, you'll do great. Like, this is what you were made to do. Like, I'll teach you, you know, all these things. And he was really successful. So I did it. I ended up working alongside my buddy, but underneath his branch manager. So I learned from a guy who was a really good loan officer.
Yeah. I think
and here we are.
A key word to take from that is teach. Now, as a loan officer, you're not just servicing clients. You're actually teaching them
100%.
the proper way to invest, the proper way to decipher how much am I putting down?
Yeah.
What rate do I lock?
Right.
And that's something that at Velocity we look at with our loan officers that we're dealing with. You have to be able to teach the client.
Yes.
Hence why you're preferred. It's something you are so good at. So
Thank
what
you.
was the translation for you from, hey, you know what, looking at numbers and teaching to starting to do loans to, you know what, I think I should actually start learning and living on my clients, and then actually start training loan officers as well?
It was all kind of happening simultaneously. I like people.
Yeah.
Like, if you know disc profiles, I'm a high I. I'm very interpersonal. I enjoy talking with people.
You enjoy stuff like this.
Yeah, I do. But I work with clients every single day. I work with people every single day. Like, check. Okay, we got that.
We can do that.
I like numbers. You know, with math, for me, it was like there's always an answer. There's always a right answer. There's no subjectivity. So when it comes to teaching clients, you let the numbers do the talking. I always tell my clients, look, I don't want to help you just right now. I want you to be a client for life. I want to help you with years down the road, transactions down the road, purchases, refis, whatever. So what are your goals? Right? How long are your goals from now? What are the numbers associated with your goals? Is it savings? Is it long-term savings? Is it short-term savings? And then boom, you plug in the numbers and they give you the answers. But you do have to teach the client how to
Read them.
comprehend the numbers. Yeah, absolutely. So we try and put it in an easy to understand perspective, but it is very high level math that is super important to them when they want to know, how can I save the most money? You know, you look at the park bench, you turn on the radio or you turn on the TV, and everyone's advertising the lowest rate to save the most money. But the lowest rate comes with the highest costs. And the lowest rate is not always the best rate. And the best rate for you might not be the best rate for you. So, you know, there is subjectivity just in what's important to the client. But when it comes to actually finding out what is most important to the client or why that's most important to the client, it's objective. It's all numbers.
But that's what separates you from the competition, and including your branch. All the LOs you have, all of you guys look at the client as someone they want to serve for multiple mortgages.
Yeah.
Because the average LO is going to be like, hey, I'm going to make 2 points on this. Let's just get them something and close.
Right. Yes.
And that's such a wrong way to look at it in this industry, because it's
You're very
so
right.
people forward.
It is. It starts with people. And, you know, a loan officer might do that and pull the wool over somebody's eyes, make the 2 points, and then never talk to or never hear from them again. And that's not a way to build a career.
No.
That's
So
a flash in the pan.
that's an awesome segue to my next question. Jumping to military home loans. You were at
yeah.
Synergy before. Was that a career move, or was that something where you're like, I think I'm just going to do better over here?
A little of both.
Okay.
So I had kind of reached, it's I don't like saying this, but I had reached the pinnacle of where I could be at my last job.
Yes.
I'm not a boastful person, so don't take that the wrong way. What I'm saying is, like,
I am, so I'll hold it for both
thank
of
you.
us.
What I'm saying is, like, I had hit the ceiling of my capability there because
Yes.
I worked underneath the branch manager, but he was a producing branch manager. So he was super busy, right?
Yep.
He had his own clients, he had his own deals, he had his own fires to put out. And I wasn't getting the kind of teaching and training that I needed to get to that next step. Case in point. So I got married in 2015. Please God, I hope that's right. And
We'll see if Sonia listens.
I know. We went on our honeymoon. We did 2 weeks in Europe. It was awesome. But I had pre-approved a client. And while I was out, that client gets his offer accepted. Awesome news.
Awesome. Thanks for paying for the honeymoon.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, he's thrilled. Everybody's thrilled. I'm thrilled because I'm half a world away and I don't have to do anything. But my branch manager is there working on it. And that client was a solar salesman. And he'd go door to door selling solar. And he would always ask the homeowner, like, hey, are you interested in buying or selling your home? And if they were, he flipped it to a real estate agent. And if that real estate agent met a client who needed solar, he flipped it back to solar guy. So they were like this power couple. And my branch manager was that agent's preferred lender.
Yep.
Okay, so this is all very important, I promise.
Okay.
Anyway, so the solar salesman is self-employed.
Okay.
He's a sole proprietor. He files his income as a Schedule C on his tax returns. I didn't really know what that meant because I'd never been trained.
At the time, you're like, this guy does very well.
No, worse. I didn't even have his tax returns. He sent me his pay stubs. So I looked at his pay stubs and I see his gross income. Well, like any good self-employed businessman, he's got a ton of write-offs.
Yep.
To where his bottom line is, I don't make anything, don't tax me. You know, Uncle Sam,
don't ask any questions.
Yeah, right. So I qualify him on his income on his pay stubs. I leave and I go to Europe. They get the tax returns and guy makes no money. He can't qualify for the loan. So there's this dumpster fire happening while I'm off gallivanting through Spain or wherever. So much so that it has put tremendous stress on that relationship between my boss and that top producing real estate agent.
Of course.
But anyway, the point is, like, I didn't get taught how to do one of the most rudimentary
Products.
income calculations in loans. So I had realized, all right, this maybe isn't where I need to be. But in knowing you, and when we got started, we started working a lot with veterans.
Yes.
Right? We're in San Diego. This is very military centric. We do a lot of VA loans. And coincidentally, the guy who transitioned me out of radio into mortgages, my buddy, he was ready to make a move too. And we're like, dude, let's go together. Let's be a package deal. Maybe we'll get a better deal.
Yeah.
So he met Military Home Loans. I didn't even
Know of them.
know of them.
And it was what? Less than a mile away?
Yeah, it was about a mile away.
Yeah.
In fact, when we went to lunch with them, we were like, oh, shoot, I hope nobody sees us, you know?
So a little too close to home to be doing this.
Yeah. So he met, Karen Bates was one of the owners at the time, and we went to lunch, and I just immediately said, I have to work for this woman. She's brilliant. She speaks my language. She understands what's important. When I later went to the office, there was a pack and play in the office, and you know, one of the processors, who's now my business partner, she would have to bring her son to work, and they were like, family first, family forward, like this is really important to us. Again, super important for me. So anyway, not only was I working with a lot of veterans, but like this company had the values that was important to me, and it was kind of a match made in heaven. That was 2017, made the move.
So now let's get to the fun part of the podcast for purely the grind. Obviously, you didn't jump through all these hoops in life, just like coasting through, like,
No.
I'm just going to work a little bit and get to this point. I know you were busting your ass to get to that point. Military home loans, was there something, or you got there in 2017, you're like, I got to double down to really prove to myself this is what I want to do and not become a teacher?
Yes. Well, and at that time too, 2017, I didn't make the move company-wise
Company-wise?
until I bought my first house.
Very smart.
Yeah. I didn't want to jeopardize the loan, right? Switch companies, underwriters are like, what's going on? So anyway, we were married, bought the first house, and it's like, all right, well, that's a pretty serious bill. Like, we can't struggle. And my wife, you know, she had a job as well. And we were doing okay when our rent payment was $1,595.
Yes.
We were doing okay. We were doing fine, in fact, enough to save up for a down payment. But now our mortgage was going to be like twice that.
Yep.
And it was gut check time. So there was no slacking off. Plus, that's not really who I am anyway. I want to progress.
Yes.
I want to get better. And you put in the work. I mean, my first boss told me, you're going to go commission only. I'd never been commission only. He's like, you're going to go commission only, and I'll tell you what, you will learn exactly what you're worth. You're either going to work hard, do a lot of business, help a lot of people, and get paid handsomely for it, or you're not going to work, and you're going to slack off, and you're going to coast, and guess what? You're going to get paid accordingly for that too. So it was go time, right? It was just like, all right, let's put in work. Let's call, let's network, let's meet people, let's help people. And that was kind of it too. And you talked about it earlier. If you genuinely want to help people and you're not looking at just making a sale, we call it having commission breath. You don't have commission breath where they can smell your intent on you, and you want to help, That's how you build your career. That's how they then introduce you to others. And it just has this spider web effect of now I know everybody in your circle. And you over here on, the third level, you might have a different circle. And here we go again. So it's a hustle for sure. It's effort for sure. But it's also like caring about people.
Yeah. And for the listeners, something to point out, that commission breath is so apparent.
Oh,
if
absolutely.
you're talking to an agent,
Yes.
you can 100% tell.
Yeah.
And it's something that we both do in recruiting. That when you're talking to a loan officer and you give them the same spiel, hey, commission, you're going to see what you're worth. And they're like, can I have an extra 1/10 of a point on this one file?
Right.
You got to just put in the work every single day for what you want to get done. So, good question for you. Was this like, hey, this is the rent to now doubling to my mortgage? We're paying $3,000 something. Is it a fight or flight, or is it something of I want to prove to my wife, who, for those people who we're going to get there, is no longer working, that I could actually do this to the point where she doesn't need to work?
Boy, a little bit of both.
Okay.
And that was important to both of us.
Yes.
My wife and I, that we get to the point where, and I totally recognize that most people, especially in our market, do not have this luxury where there's a stay-at-home parent. But that was really important to us. That's what I grew up with. Mm-hmm. And, given the choice, if money's no object, given the choice, would you rather have your kid's mother raising them or a babysitter?
Well, I was also raised with both. So my parents...
and look how you turned out.
I know, right? Did well. I mean, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, but with identical twins, you need to be an octomom. You need to have 8 arms.
Yeah.
But it's something that's so true. Like, if you're looking at your kids, and I think it's just because it's mostly a business talk, kids are assets. As crazy as that sounds.
I'd like to hear this.
Yes, you are investing your time, your energy, your resources into raising them properly.
Yes.
Are you
right.
going to trust your wife or your partner, who you are obviously invested with because you care for them, or a hey nanny that just graduated high school?
Right.
Can you watch my 6-month-old today?
Exactly. And again, I recognize that is a necessity for a lot of people.
Yes.
But for us, it wasn't going to happen. I was going to do everything I could to make sure that didn't happen because it was important enough to us to make it priority one.
And that's so great because most people have something that they see as that priority one.
Yeah.
But they don't think it's achievable. I mean, in today's...
And I say BS.
Yeah. Today's world, to get to that point, you're really showing, hey, in lending, if you make those relationships, if you care about people, if you invest in others, this will work out for you.
Right.
Which is crazy because someone listening to this conversation could be like, well, yeah, I want to make 6 figures, so of course I'll do that. But it's not the thought. It's the, hey, I want to make my clients 6 figures. I want to make their friends and family 6 figures with their investments.
Yes.
That's why I want my phone to ring.
Exactly right.
It's a totally different way to reach goals because you're no longer thinking me, 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 me. It's all for them. So military home loans, you and Melissa in there, you have Shirani as well, grinding it out.
Yep.
At what point did you three kind of just like put your heads together and say, I think we could actually do something with this business and look at the Bates family and talk to them? What happened there?
It actually went the other way around. The Bates family, Ken and Karen Bates, who started Military Home Loans in 2004, when honestly no one was doing VA loans.
Yes.
There were all these other types of loans. So they started the company, they focus on VA, and they had up and down years, like pretty massive up and down years. I wasn't there for a lot of it, but from, all accounts and stories, and even from them personally, up and down, up and down, up and down. And they, after 2019, which was a good year in loans and real estate, they decided, all right, we're done, right? Not that they hadn't made it. They had finally made it to the point where they're like, let's kind of retire. So they were ready to start. Ken wanted to work on new software for the mortgage industry, but not be in the trenches all day, every day. Karen, who, remember I told you, recruited me, and I was like, I have to work for this woman.
She speaks my language.
She has this effect on everyone she talks to. So she's, she wants to pursue coaching and empowering women. And
That's
honestly,
awesome.
like, she's God-given, made for that. So they have decided in 2019, and this is like October of 2019. It's pretty much a done deal. Like, all right, this is happening. But they didn't want to close the doors because they had so many relationships, so many clients, so many agents who would just be like bummed hugely bummed.
Me personally.
Not to mention, it was important to them to leave a legacy behind. So they gave myself, in fact, so they gave Melissa, my partner and our branch manager, and Shirani, my partner and our ops manager, and me the opportunity to become this 3-part management ownership team, buy them out, essentially. Like, hey, we don't want to close the doors, but we know there's value here. Like, are you guys interested in, continuing in the right direction? Buy us out. And I almost said no, man, because I just thought back to radio.
Yep.
When I was overseeing 15 people and managing all those people and managing all those schedules, and how much I told myself, I just want to work for me. And then from 2014 to 2020, I was kind of my own boss. Like,
yep.
I was a loan officer. I managed my schedule, my clients, whatever. And it was great. I was like, dang, I don't know if I want to do management again. And I almost passed, but I talked to my dad again. And Dad was really good at, this too, for your dad especially. Yes. Dads are great at challenging you.
Oh, very good.
I can say for sure, as a son-father relationship, dads are great at challenging you. But like in a loving way.
Mm-hmm. Well, they know what you can do, but they just can't be like, come on, Clay, do it.
Yeah. Well, and especially by that time, I mean, whatever age I was, I don't know, 32 or something like that. Dad knows me. Like, Dad knows the ins and outs of Clay, like what makes Clay go. Challenged me, and he's like, if it doesn't work, just go be a loan officer somewhere else. Yeah. But we did it. And starting January 1st, 2020, Military Home Loans became under new management. And since then, it had always been, since 2004, it was small, California only, really San Diego and Southern California only, and really VA only. Over 95% VA loans.
Which is crazy.
It is. Now we are in 10 states. We have people in 3 states. We are about 90% VA, which means we're doing more of the other stuff. Certainly doing conventional, certainly doing FHA, but we do down payment assistance. We've got a construction division. We're bringing HELOCs on here, hopefully in the next couple weeks. Like, we're starting to do more of everything, but not forgetting what made us who we are.
Yes.
Our VA expertise, and I can say that and mean it, VA expertise, and, servicing our main clientele, the veterans, is still the most important thing for us.
So obviously that's starting at the bottom of thinking you're going to be this pro baseball player to jumping all the way to not wanting to be in management to now being in management. But I also know you're still in the trenches.
Yeah.
So how do you handle being in the trenches every day, being an LO, prospecting, doing your work, working with the underwriter, and still managing your team?
That's the question. Well, and don't forget, there's a family now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I couldn't do it without 2 partners.
Yes.
I look at my first boss, single branch manager and main producer. And like, there's a reason that he couldn't do both. Like, It's hard to do both.
It's very hard to do both.
He can do one or the other really well, but not both. So, without partners, it would be impossible. But, having to be the main producer, which I love doing because I still get to work with my clients, is tough to balance that in management, but it's more important now for me to see my team succeed.
Yes.
We talked about this earlier. My goal next year is I don't want to be this guy. I want you to be this guy. Mm-hmm. And if that means I'm here, then I'm okay with that.
But
because
I've been there and I know what it feels like, and I want that for you.
Yes, exactly. And it's kind of fatherly.
It's very fatherly.
As corny as that sounds, it kind of just hit me. But I want that for them because you're right. I know what it feels like. And I know it's important to them because as salespeople, we're all competitors.
Yes.
Whether we grew up playing sports or not, like, you don't want to lose. You just don't.
You don't want to
lose.
We
hate losing. So when I see them succeed, I always say they come into my office with their tails wagging. You can almost see like literal tails wagging. Mm-hmm. It's just super fulfilling. And if I'm taking a step back and sacrificing my production so that you can increase yours, that makes me super happy.
It's such a crazy transition. I mean, especially thinking, well, if I fail, I'll just go be my own loan officer. Like,
right.
It's like, Two
Right.
sides of a coin. You're like, hey, I'm going to sacrifice my well-being for your success, but the other side is like, screw everyone. I'm going to figure this out myself.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Besides talking to your dad, obviously your wife as well, is there anyone else in your life that you looked up to that made that type of monumental decision that you're like, if they did it, I could do it?
Ken Bates. So Ken and Karen were the original owners. Ken was a machine. I'm pretty sure still. I'm pretty sure there's part of him that's cyborg. He's just got this brain that is insane. But at the same time, he's got a lot of interpersonal skills. He's got to really focus on tapping into it. It's hard for someone with that really mechanical, computerized brain to also be interpersonal. But he can do it. And he was really good at challenging me. Dad challenged me, but I knew it was like, well, if I fail, like Dad still loves me and, whatever. I mean, Ken definitely loved me, but in a different way. He's like, you can do this, but it was pushing me out of my comfort zone. Dad was like, look, if it doesn't work, like comfort zone's over here. You're okay. Ken was more like, no, get out of your comfort zone. No excuse. Like, go do it. And again, I don't like to lose. And I didn't want Ken to know that I lost. So I would do it. And that was big for me to really get to that next step. So when I worked for Ken from 2017 to 2020, that really pushed me to becoming a top producer, but also taught me how to be a manager.
And that's good. So pushing your loan officers, let's go with that. Going with personality styles. That doesn't work for everyone.
No.
It really doesn't. So how have you been able to find that balance within your own business to really pull success out of people in ways that they didn't think is possible?
Great question. And I'm still learning this because personality profiles are real.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't know about them until 2017. This was 5 years ago. The DISC profile really simplifies it into just 4 parts, 4 main personality types. And you can have a blend of all 4. But typically someone has 1 or 2 that are like, that's you.
That's you.
You might have some of this other stuff, but that's you. So understanding how to talk to people, what motivates people, what they hear, not only the words you're saying, but how you're saying them is big for management.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also really big for building team chemistry. We know how to talk to each other now. You know how to talk to me. I know how to talk to you. We both know how to talk to that processor where, maybe we need a favor and can we front of the line this thing? So learning personality profiles is huge.
Yeah, like funny enough, that was my Sales 300 class in college.
Oh, yeah?
I took an entire semester on personality.
See, I had no exposure to it.
Well, like that's led me to my success of being a CEO at 27.
Right.
Because I learned at 18, you can't just talk to everyone the same way.
Exactly.
Especially going into something so fragile as a commission job. Like we were walking on eggshells talking to people because it's not like, hey, I need you to sell this house or close this loan. It's, I need you to do this to make them happy, but to put food on your table.
Right.
So has there been any true obstacles with any hires that weren't the right fit or any lenders that you feel like you can push more, that if you knew just this a little bit sooner their personality, that you would have been able to solve any issue?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely going to be team members who are not the right fit.
Always.
Right. I mean, you look at any pro sports teams, there's guys who are like, that guy needs to go. He's not working for this team anymore. There have been some, and there have been some who I thought were not going to work out, and there was, a breakthrough or, something that either I said or Melissa, my partner, said where it just clicked, and now they're like, go time.
Yeah, and it's, without naming names, you have an incredible group right now.
I'm really happy with our group
truly,
right now.
I could call anyone in your group, and what I need product-wise or question to be answered, I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
And it's something looking at most loan offices, you've got 2 or 3 guys that know what they're doing. With military home loans, you've got a solid core in and out of state that can get it done.
Right. Yeah. And part of that too is like, even if the loan officer has not seen that scenario or doesn't know exactly what that answer is, there is so much experience in our office. We don't have a lot of people who are old, right? We don't have a lot of people who can say, I've been in this business for 30 years, which by the way, I hate hearing.
Don't say that.
We've got people who have done it at a high level for a shorter amount of time, right? Someone who's been in the business for 30 years, but maybe has done 1, 2,
deals.
5, 60 deals in that time is like, well, I passed you last year, right? Or 3 years ago. I want someone who's working a lot of deals in a short amount of time, because then they've got that repetition, they've got that experience, they've seen unique scenarios, and they've seen it recently.
Yes. Well, I'm going to cut
We
you
have
there.
that.
I have a good question.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather hire a loan officer that's been in 3 years, doing 100 loans a year, crushing it, just absolutely crushing it?
Yeah.
Or hire someone who is super green, who wants to learn, and every single job they've had prior, they have found success?
You said the first guy was 3 years?
3 years.
See, 3 years isn't long enough to develop a lot of bad habits, but 100 loans a year, that's...
It's an insane number.
Yeah, so for me, I'll take them both.
You have to pick
Can
one.
I? Oh, dang.
You have to
Okay,
pick one.
thought I was really cutting edge there. I really like the green loan officer.
Love that.
In fact, hired one last year as my assistant, and this was where the personality profile got ignored.
Yes.
Like, I kind of forced it. I wanted him to be my assistant to learn loans, not to learn to be an assistant, to learn to be a loan officer by working under a loan officer.
Mm-hmm.
And he did that, but boy, was it a struggle, because he didn't have the high S, high C disc profile traits, which are really organizationally driven. And to be an assistant for someone who's got 100 clients
Yeah.
with, 40 pieces of documentation each, you have to be dialed. And he wasn't. But you know what he did have? Super high I interpersonal
Very
skills.
high.
You know who I'm talking about.
Very high.
So the goal was always like, all right, you'll start here and we're going to transition you to loan officer. It got to the point where like, all right, loan officer.
Yeah, here you go.
I've seen enough of you that this isn't for you, but more importantly, I've seen enough that that is for you. Go, do it. And he transitioned, it was either at the end of last year, beginning of this year, and here we are in August. He has now closed his first 3 loans
That's incredible.
in the last 6 weeks, or 8 weeks, something like that. But he spent this entire first part of the year building, right? We always say load the hopper, load the funnel. Eventually they'll start coming out.
That's an interesting analogy, because we say we're pushing snowballs up hills.
Yeah.
Because eventually you're going to get to the point, like one of our agents now has got 5 people out looking at homes this week, and one of the clients is buying 3 properties.
There you go.
And he's been building all year.
And eventually you get to the top and you
just
push it over and brrr, there it goes.
So let's
Yeah.
say we have a listener or viewer who is a new loan officer. What's the number one thing they should do every day?
You can't be afraid of the phone.
Oh, that's a topic we talk about all the time.
Fear of the phone is real. Sending texts and emails instead of making calls or getting what we call belly to belly with someone is real. And most people are scared to have that first conversation.
Yes.
But I will tell you, there is nothing that cements rapport and builds trust with a client better than meeting them in person.
Mm-hmm.
Second would be having them on the phone, because we've all said jokes over text that didn't land because you can't pick up on tone. So you can't be afraid to pick up the phone or get out there and, whether it's door knocking as an agent or going to grab a coffee as a lender and, meeting a real estate agent or some other referral partner, you cannot abandon the interpersonal connection. So that would be the first thing, is start with that and start building your referral network. Because if I'm a home buyer, we all want immediate gratification.
Always.
I'm gonna
Especially
say-
my generation.
I'm going to say, I want to buy a house. Let me call a real estate agent,
Yep.
right? The two go hand in hand. It takes a special buyer to say, I'm going to buy a house. Let me call a loan officer. Most people don't want to have to do the mortgage just to get the house. They want the keys. Like,
They want the fun part.
somebody open this door for me. I want to get in. So as a loan officer, you need to have a good network of those people who get that first call. You need to have a good network of real estate agents, financial planners, CPAs, even insurance agents.
Yes.
Whatever it is, I want to be your guy. And when you make that call to request to be that guy, why should they choose you? What's your USP? What's your unique selling proposition? How are you different than the other 5 guys who called me last week? Why should I choose you? So know what your USP is. And if you don't have one, get one. If you don't have one and you can't get one, call me. I got one for you.
Yeah, and I want to wrap this up with a good question that is going to challenge you, but I think it's going to be the best part for anyone listening or watching.
Okay.
Day one as a loan officer, what's something you wish you would have done?
Oh, day one as a loan officer.
Because obviously you just gave him the advice. You got to make your calls. You got to meet people. You have to get your USP.
Absolutely.
You have projected an incredible career. And I'm not just saying that as a friend. You're someone I look up to. What is something you think you could have done better or different day one to even be further ahead as where you're at now?
I would have insisted on being in the room. So remember, I started as my branch manager's assistant.
Yep.
Right? Can I say I was the bitch boy?
Yes, you can.
All right. I was the bitch boy. I was, getting documents, printing documents, scanning documents, labeling documents. Great. All of that is a necessity for every loan officer to learn how to do.
Yes.
Because when I started, I didn't know what a federal tax return looked like versus a state tax return. So now I know those things.
It's different colored ink, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. See me after class. But what I should have done, and what I wish my boss would have done, was when he went out on a call, I want to be there. Because I want to learn that side of the business. How do you talk to people? How do you network with people? How do you build those relationships? So I challenge new loan officers, if it's truly day one, you have to learn the back end of loans, which is all the paperwork, but you need to learn the front end of networking and becoming a loan officer, and just shadow someone. Whether you sit in their office while they're making a call and they throw it on speaker, or you're actually with them when they're meeting a client, no client's going to care that
no.
Hey, this is Joey. It's his first day. He's learning to be a great loan officer. Great.
Is he touching my file? No, he's just here to listen.
Right.
Cool.
Do you want a coffee? Joey will get it for you.
Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation, is get out there, get exposure early.
Thank you for taking the time to come on today. I think just learning the whole radio transition to me is crazy. And for anyone listening, you can make a change at any point in your life. And there's nothing holding you back from success besides yourself.
Right.
And if you really hone in and say, hey, this is something I want to do, this is a goal I want to reach, and this is my why, everything's obtainable.
Yep.
Without getting to religion, God has blessed us all with the opportunity to make our own way. Go make it.
Yep.
Go find your success.
Right. Don't let somebody else do it for you.
Amen. Absolutely. Thanks for coming on today, Clay. It was a pleasure having you.
Likewise.
Wow, first mix-up, and it was at the end.
Right, but now I don't want to dance. Can I depend on a man? I slided some bread in the jam. It's just who I am.